Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio Ian Cameron Sports Report for Wednesday, October the 28th. We're ready. We're going to break down three Thursday football games on today's show. Georgia Southern versus South Alabama, Sun Belt matchup. Colorado State versus Fresno State, also taking place Thursday night in the Mountain West. And we'll preview the Thursday night NFL game, Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, all on today's show. Tomorrow on the Thursday show, we'll preview game Friday college football. And then, of course, on the Friday Ian Cameron Sports Report, we'll do our usual Friday football six-pack, 3 college games on Saturday, 3 NFL games on Sunday. So that's the schedule moving forward for the rest of the week. Before we preview the Thursday football, we've got to look back and recap Game 6 of the World Series last night. Congratulations to the LA Dodgers. Dave Roberts, Clayton Kershaw, they're the guys that stand out as the ones you feel happy for, you feel good for in terms of winning this World Series. Obviously, 3-4 years in a row of just absolute frustration and anger and heartbreak, and they finally get the job done. The LA Dodgers wrapping up their World Series championship, the first for the franchise since 1988, and of course we remember the Kirk Gibson home run in that World Series for the Dodgers that season. And the LA Dodgers, let's be honest, for most of the series, their lineup was just more destructive. Their lineup was just more powerful, more dangerous, more productive than the Tampa Bay Rays lineup. The starting pitching for the Dodgers, for the most part in this series, was solid. Clayton Kershaw gave them some good outings for the most part. He bobbled here and there, but he was steady for the most part. Walker Buehler was absolutely outstanding as the ace of this team. He pitched well. And I think the biggest surprise to me in this series was the LA Dodgers bullpen at times, and it didn't come through any clearer or more evident than last night in Game 6. The Dodgers bullpen flat out pitched better at times in this series than the vaunted Tampa Bay Rays bullpen that everybody, can't stop talking about how good they were. But the LA Dodgers, especially last night, one reliever after another, it was impressive to see what they got from their bullpen. Dylan Floro, Alex Wood, Victor Gonzalez, Gratterall, and of course Julio Urias, who was just mowing down the Rays to finish off that game. Hell, they didn't even have to go to Kenley Jansen at the end of that game, which is probably a wise move, believe it or not, by Dave Roberts. But the Dodgers get the victory, of course, and wrap up the World Series last night. Dodgers get the money. The game stays under the total, and I got this game flat out wrong, and I'm willing to accept that with the handicap. I mentioned on the show yesterday, I like the Rays money line, the Rays team total over, and the full game over. Wrong. 0-3 with those. That's pretty much my baseball season in a nutshell. I'll flat out say it right now, and because there's nothing to hide. There's nothing. No one should feel as a bettor or handicapper that they have something to hide. Be forthright. Be transparent. Be honest. For me, Major League Baseball was a shit show this season. It was a brutal season for me betting Major League Baseball. It was a terrible year. I was down double-digit units. I'll say it right now, double-digit unit loss this year for me in baseball. Good news is it's the only sport I'm negative in this year since the restart. Hockey was profitable. NBA was profitable. Football, we're in profit in college and NFL so far. But unfortunately, Major League Baseball just was not a good year for me. It was a bad betting season, and sort of fitting that it ended with a 0-3 last night here in Game 6 of the World Series between the Rays and the Dodgers. Of course, we can't, stop talk. We can't not discuss the Blake Snell situation before we get off this game in this series. Look, he was absolutely dominant last night. All right. Any baseball fan, even if you're just a casual fan, you're watching Blake Snell just mow down one Dodger hitter after another. Look like they could not keep up with anything he was throwing. Swings and misses, 9 strikeouts. The Dodgers were swinging out of their shoes almost. He had them completely flat-footed, completely bamboozled. Unfortunately, the Rays got that Randy Arozarena home run in the first inning. They could not add any more runs. They had opportunities with runners in scoring position, and they just couldn't put anyone, bring anyone home. They held on to that 1-0 lead. I knew it was going to be bad news for the Rays. If they couldn't add some insurance runs, they couldn't. And they had the 1-0 lead going into the 6th. And because they couldn't pad their lead, Kevin Cash probably, I'll give him one bit of defense here, probably felt like he could not have anything but a short leash on Blake Snell because of the situation, that it was 1-0, that one mistake pitch, and it could be the end of the series. So it goes to the 6th inning. Rays still up 1-0. Blake Snell gives up, I believe, a leadoff single. And then right away, bam, here's Kevin Cash coming out of the dugout, and he goes to his bullpen. I didn't like it. And obviously, if you see social media and you talk to people that are Rays fans, and I know a few, they didn't like it either. And look, analytics, there's some good to it, because you get situations that you can look at a particular matchup and say, you know what, we got to take the pitcher out at this time because, you want your, lefty-righty matchups. I get it. You want second, third time through the order. Everybody's tracking numbers versus for the starting pitcher versus the hitter in those situations. And usually they don't fare as well once you get the third, fourth time through the order. I get all of that. And you lose some miles per hour and zip on your velocity. And it was looking in the 6th inning a little bit like maybe Blake Snell was losing some miles per hour on those pitches of his. And that's why he gave up, the single there, for instance. I think there's some truth to that. But at some point, you've got to park the analytics, the overthinking of things, and manage a game once in a while with gut feel and looking at it with your own 2 eyes. And anybody that's going by their gut feel, watching that game last night and watching what's going on with their eyes and seeing Blake Snell just dominating one hitter after another for 5+ innings, and all of a sudden one single and he's out of the game, I have a problem with that. I have a big problem with that, especially in a situation like this where it's season on the line, win or go home, you're out, you're done. If you lose that game, you've got to change your thinking a little bit. I understand if this is game, 50 of that 60-game regular season, and Blake Snell maybe gives up a single there. Okay, you want to take him out and go by your numbers, go by your analytics, go by things like that. I get it. I accept that. It's game 50 of the regular season. This is do or die. This is you're done if you lose. You, in my opinion, you need to keep him in there. You need to give him more rope than that. Like, this guy had 9 strikeouts. It was one swing and miss after another from Dodgers hitters last night. He was rolling along. He gives up one hit, and all of a sudden, bam, we got to get him out of there. I didn't like it one bit. I thought it was a terrible move by Kevin Cash to do that. And a lack of confidence in his starting pitcher. Like, the guy is dominating. Can you not give him another batter or two to see if he can get out of it? Can you not do that? He has been rolling along. He dominated the Dodgers in game 2 of this series as well. Let's not forget that. Could you not have given him another opportunity or two to face another couple of hitters before you just pull a friggin' shoot on him and take him out? That's one half of the thing I didn't like of the decision, was taking him out so quickly then and there. That's just half of why I didn't like it. Wait till you hear the other half. The other half is who Kevin Cash selected to relieve Blake Snell out of the bullpen. Nick Anderson. Now, Nick Anderson, if you look at his regular season numbers, he was unhittable almost. He was phenomenal for the Rays in the bullpen. But that was not Nick Anderson in the playoffs. Going into last night, Nick Anderson had given up at least a run in 7 straight postseason appearances out of the bullpen for the Tampa Bay Rays. So that's the guy you chose? You got Blake Snell rolling along with a 1-0 lead, 9 strikeouts in 5 innings of work. He gives up one bloody, measly, piddly little single. You take him out and you replace him with Nick Anderson, who's given up at least a run in 7 straight playoff appearances in this year's playoffs. That's the guy you select to replace and relieve Blake Snell. I mean, you got to be kidding me. Seriously? Seriously. He's given up at least a run in 7 straight playoff appearances. That's the guy you pick? With a season on the line? Are you kidding me? Are you seriously? Like, come on. What are we doing here? What are we doing here, Kevin Cash? What are we doing? God damn it, man. What the hell could possibly have possessed you to not only take Snell and lift him from the game at that point, but put Nick Anderson in there? And I don't care what he did in the regular season. Playoffs is a different animal. It's pressure. It's big stakes. It's better teams. It's better lineups. You better get it done in the playoffs. It's different. Completely different. You think I give it two shits about Nick Anderson with a 1.0 ERA, whatever it was, in 60 regular season games when so many of them are against piddly, bad lineups, bad teams? No, I don't care about those. I care about his playoff performances. What's he done here in October? And I'll tell you what he's done. He struggled. He got bombed a couple times by the Yankees 2 rounds ago. He got bombed a couple of times by the Astros in the ALCS. He has not been that same reliever. And I don't need analytics to tell me that. I'm a baseball fan. I'm a sports fan. I'm a sports bettor. I've been watching sports for 20 to 30 years. I've been betting it now for 10 plus years. It's not splitting the atom, figuring out the guy has not pitched as well in the playoffs. Nick Anderson. He has not. He has not. And that's the guy you chose, basically, to take over for Blake Snell, who was rolling along, and not give Blake Snell the opportunity, one more hitter, maybe 2 more hitters, to see if maybe he can still get out of the inning. Hasn't he earned you that? Hasn't he earned that opportunity? 73 pitches too. I haven't even mentioned that here during my rant and raving session. 73 pitches. Don't stand there and tell me the guy didn't have anything left in the tank. 73 pitches. My gosh. I'll tell you right now, if I'm a manager in that spot, and this is a guy I like. I hate, being so critical of Kevin Cash, because I think he's done a great job with the Rays, and he did an outstanding job this season, and he pushed a lot of right buttons. Let me get that on the table right now. This is not a Kevin Cash is a moron. He has no clue what he's doing. He does. He's a really good manager, but he fucked up last night. This one he got wrong. This time he did not push the right button. He pushed the wrong buttons last night. And there's nobody that's going to change my mind on this. You lift Blake Snell when he was rolling along like he was. And not only that, you lift him for a guy that's given up at least a run in 7 straight times he's been in a playoff game for you this year, Nick Anderson. And sure enough, what happens? 1-0 lead. Bye-bye. Dodgers take the lead. And of course, they don't relinquish the lead the rest of the way. Game over. Series over. Season over for the Tampa Bay Rays. Difficult way to lose it that way. Taking out a starter that I don't think deserved to be a starter. Now, the fact remains, even if Blake Snell finishes that inning, maybe goes into the 7th, do the Dodgers eventually at some point still take the lead? Like, the offense had dried up. Hindsight's 20/20. Maybe you keep Snell in there. It's still 1-0. The offense and the Rays lineup still can't get that insurance run. And eventually at some point, the Dodgers do tie it still and take the lead, maybe, perhaps. But that inning and that decision is what led to you losing the lead. And that is why that decision deserves, I think, some criticism. I mean, man alive. I mean, Blake Snell, the way he pitched in game 2, and then last night gives up one little single. And we're going to take him out. And not only we're going to take him out, we're going to take him out for a reliever that has been nowhere near as good in the playoffs as he was in the regular season. That's tough. I'll tell you what, I'd be having a sleep. If I did that, if I was in Kevin Cash's shoes, I'd be saying I fucked up. I would. I'd be, maybe not to publicly in my press conference, but boy, I sure as hell would be thinking it. I fucked up. And I'd be having a really, really sleepless night thinking about what I've done. That was stunning to me. That at that moment he decided to pull the chute on Blake Snell. But what can you say? Just a decision I didn't agree with, and clearly a decision that might have cost the Rays that game. Again, Snell could have gone another inning or two, and the Rays still don't score, don't add to that 1-0 lead. Maybe the Dodgers get him eventually. But still, to me, you had a much better chance of winning that game if you leave Blake Snell in there. That did not happen, and next thing you know, the Dodgers World Series champs. Though, again, they deserved it. Corey Seager was just incredible during the playoffs. Cody Bellinger and company. So a great job by the Dodgers. Definitely want to give them their kudos, but definitely a situation where lots to mull over and ponder if you're the Tampa Bay Rays following that loss. That being said, despite the tough loss last night and the managerial decision of Kevin Cash, for the Rays, it was a great season. I mean, outstanding year to win the AL East, beat the Yankees, get to the World Series. There's a lot to like with the Tampa Bay Rays. Now we'll have to see how they come back from this. Dodgers lose in the World Series, but they kept coming back, getting chances to win it, and they finally did. Let's see if the Tampa Bay Rays have that same resolve, that same level of stick-to-itiveness to maybe get back here in future seasons. So that's the MLB World Series and the MLB season, wrapping that up for you right here on the Ian Cameron Sports Report. Let's turn to football. We've got 2 college football games tomorrow night. Let's start there. South Alabama versus Georgia Southern. We've got Georgia Southern right now around a 5-point favorite in this game, total in the mid-50s. The big news going into this game, obviously, is the health of Shea Wertz. He got banged up and left the game against Coastal Carolina last week, but did return. I'm expecting him to potentially be good to go here for this game. I see no reason why he would not be able to go, but definitely the guy that's now been in this Georgia Southern offense for a very long time and has run this triple option attack very well. South Alabama's been a surprise, and they've definitely been a good point spread team. They're 4-1 ATS. The South Alabama Jaguars coming into this game. Desmond Trotter, they've got him back at quarterback, and they've been going back and forth, him and Chance Lovertich, the backup. And Desmond Trotter, though, I think has got a little bit more athleticism. He's got that dual threat ability. Last week, albeit against a poor UL Monroe team, South Alabama, he was able to move the ball 8 of 12, 184 yards, 3 touchdowns. And he pushed the ball downfield over 15 yards per pass. That was a good thing because at times Georgia Southern doesn't stretch the field as much as they should. They did a better job of that last week in the game against Monroe. We'll see if they can keep that up here against Georgia Southern. Key for South Alabama is going to be the run defense, and that's something that's going to have to be there for them if they're going to win and cover here in this game. You look at it, Georgia Southern off a tough loss to Coastal Carolina, and Coastal Carolina, didn't have Grayson McCall, the quarterback who's been great for them. They had the backup in, and Coastal Carolina still able to beat Georgia Southern. But Georgia Southern has dominated South Alabama 6-0 straight up, 5-1 against the spread the last 6 meetings. And you've got to look specifically, can South Alabama rather, stop the run consistently? And, South Alabama, when you look at it, South Alabama's run defense still hasn't been all that. They've been better, in terms of being able to stop the run. But they're still allowing 6.1 yards per play, 408 total yards, stopping the run, 134 rushing yards per game, 3.9 yards per carry. But the concern is first and second down, South Alabama is giving up more yards per carry on the ground. That is significant because, Georgia Southern 9 times out of 10, they're going to hand the ball off on first and second down. That's what you get with the triple option. They're rarely going to throw the football on first or second down. And if South Alabama's given up 5-6 yards, which it looks like they're closer to 5 yards per rush average on defense on first and second down, that's going to keep Georgia Southern in the second and third and manageable. And that's when it becomes extremely difficult against a triple option offense, because then the whole playbook opens up. Quarterback, does he keep it? Do you pitch it? Do you just have a draw a handoff moving forward? Do you maybe put the ball in the air? I mean, it just opens up everything when you've got these second and third and short situations for a triple option team. And you worry that Georgia Southern might see a bunch of that here going into this game. Nevertheless, I mean, South Alabama is the side I would lean to, but there's enough matchup concerns that I have for them to stay away from the game, side and total. It's not a game I'm going to be involved in, but interesting to see how it goes. Georgia Southern, of course, coming off the tough loss, but against Coastal Carolina. But for South Alabama, this will be one of the tougher teams you've played so far by far here in conference play. We'll see if they're ready to handle it. Colorado State, Fresno State, the other Thursday night college football game. Colorado State 1.5-point favorites on the road, 59.5 the total in this game. Of course, Colorado State had their first game of the season with New Mexico canceled. So this is Colorado State's first game against a Fresno State team that played their first game of the Mountain West season last week against Hawaii. And it didn't go well for the Fresno State Bulldogs with Kalen DeBoer, the new head coach after Jeff Tedford stepped down from that role. 34-19 loss last week against Hawaii. It was a good start for Fresno, 7-0 lead on a defensive touchdown, but after that, wasn't very pretty for them. Jake Haener, the quarterback for Fresno State, who's a Washington Huskies transfer, not necessarily efficient, 17 of 31, 289 yards with a touchdown, but he had 3 interceptions as well, plus a lost fumble. Turnovers were an issue for Jake Haener in the loss against Hawaii, which really feasted on them. We'll see if he can clean up those mistakes here in this game. The Fresno defense did not look good whatsoever. This Fresno State defensive line struggled to stop the run last week. They got gashed a couple of times through the air, and that Fresno secondary is very, very young. That could be problematic here because I really like this Colorado State offense, and I like the quarterback, Patrick O'Brien. He's been here now for a few years, and I think he's going to be able to thrive here in this offense for the Colorado State Rams. Steve Adazio, of course, taking over as the head coach here for this program. Mike Bobo moving on. Adazio, of course, former Boston College head coach, now the head man here at Colorado State. But the offense doesn't look like it's going to change a ton here, which should be a good sign for O'Brien in terms of continuity. I think he's definitely a guy that's got a pretty solid arm. He's had a good completion rate in his career here with Colorado State. And again, this Fresno State defense, if you saw the way they played last week against Hawaii, they weren't getting a pass rush. They didn't do a good job stopping the run. They got gashed for some big plays over the top in the passing game. Colorado State's got the weapons, I think, to make them pay for it. And let's not forget about this stat and this year it's really proven to be true. I think almost 70% ATS when you bet on a team that hasn't played a game against a team that has played a game. And you would think that it would be an advantage for the team that's played a game, but you look at it, unfortunately, the team that hasn't played a game, maybe not only fresher, but they've got more of ability to better game plan because they know what to expect. The Fresno State side, of course, hasn't seen Colorado State play yet this year, so they don't really know quite as much what to expect, what they should exactly look at from a game plan standpoint. And to be honest with you, coming into this season, I thought Colorado State had the chance to be the better of these two teams. I think Fresno's got some growing pains on both sides of the ball. It's going to take time, I think, for Jake Haener, the transfer quarterback. The offensive line was shaky at times last week, and that was against a Hawaii defense that, well, let's just say Hawaii hasn't been known for good defense the last few years, so it's not going to be easy here against Colorado State either. I think Colorado State wins this game. If I'm going to play one of these two games in college football from a betting perspective on Thursday, this is the game that interests me the most. I think looking at Colorado State minus 1.5 is a good side in this game. I would probably take them on the money line instead. Usually when you're talking about a 1 to 2 point favorite, I'll just bet the money line instead. I think Colorado State does win this game here against Fresno State on the road Thursday night in Mountain West action. All right, before we wrap up, we've got to do Thursday night football in the NFL. The Carolina Panthers hosting the Atlanta Falcons. We've got Carolina 2.5 point road favorites, 51.5 the total in this game. What more can you say about Atlanta? No team knows better how to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory and they did that again last week. I already mentioned when we did the NFL recap on the Monday show, all the Todd Gurley error in judgment, scoring that touchdown, giving Detroit a chance to get the ball back, come back down the field and score the touchdown. But, I know everybody's blaming Gurley. You can blame the Atlanta defense too. How about getting a stop? How about not letting Matt Stafford and the Lions go 80 yards in a minute, to put that ball in the end zone? How about that? Before we go off the rails criticizing Todd Gurley about it. Yeah, it was a bad decision, but can you get a stop? But they didn't do it. So Atlanta loses another one, just a painful loss. Now they got to go on the road on a short week against a Carolina team that now off back-to-back losses to go to 3-4, losing to Chicago and New Orleans in back-to-back games. I feel bad for Teddy Bridgewater. He played great. DJ Moore made some big plays. Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel, they got the ground game going. The offense was fantastic against New Orleans, but boy, that Carolina defense, they had no answers for Drew Brees and the Saints. The Saints moved the ball up and down the field at will against the Carolina Panthers defense in that game. Part of me does worry about that because Atlanta can still move the ball with Matt Ryan, and company. That's still can be a good offense at times. But I don't know where Atlanta's headspace is. And to be honest, for the last two games that they've played since Raheem Morris took over as the interim coach after they got rid of Dan Quinn, the defense has played a lot better for Atlanta. No question about it. They stepped up and played better defensively against Minnesota, stepped up and played better defensively last week against Detroit until that final drive, of course, where that's the problem with Atlanta. They play good defense most of the game. Then they need a stop. They need a defensive play the most. They can't get it, and they end up losing the game. So they have played better on defense in the 2 weeks with Raheem Morris on the sideline, but I don't love the spot. I don't love where mentally this team could be shot right now with the way they lost that game against Detroit. Carolina already beat Atlanta just a couple of weeks ago in Atlanta when they played earlier this season. They won outright as slight underdogs. Revenge be damned. I think Carolina is the better of these two teams. I think they're in a better spot. I don't want this Atlanta side. It's Carolina or pass for me on Thursday Night Football. And to be honest, I think if you can lay less than a field goal, as long as you can get them at less than a field goal here, the Panthers, I think they're the way to go here on Thursday Night Football. I think they get the victory. Again, tough loss against Chicago, but good defense. Tough loss against New Orleans, but again, right in the game. They just couldn't get stops. And the Saints had it rolling that day, even without Michael Thomas and without Emmanuel Sanders at receiver. Marquez Callaway stepped up. Alvin Kamara had a huge game. The Saints still moved the ball, but I think Carolina a little bit desperate too. Unlike Atlanta, who now knows their season's probably done at 1-6, Carolina's still only 3-4. They're in the hunt still. And I think they play like it here on Thursday night. I like Carolina to get the win. Thursday Night Football over the Atlanta Falcons. All right, that'll wrap up the Wednesday edition of the Pub Sports Radio Ian Cameron Sports Report. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. A reminder to check out pubsportsradio.com every day and the Pub Sports Radio YouTube channel. Tons of great content, great shows, great videos, live betting shows, and a lot of great personalities on the channel. So make sure you check it out, pubsportsradio.com and the Pub Sports Radio YouTube channel. A reminder, tomorrow, it's a double dose of Ian Cameron. As always on a Thursday, I'll do my regular Ian Cameron Sports Report video. And of course, live, 1:00 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow on Thursday, the weekly live Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy show will break down every NFL game this upcoming week from a betting perspective on Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy, Thursday at 1:00 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you join me for that. Take care, everybody. Thank you for watching. Have a great Wednesday night, and I will be back with you tomorrow on Thursday for another edition of the Pub Sports Radio Ian Cameron Sports Report.